Well, welcome to the Steadyhand Coffee Break video series, where we typically focus on retirement issues that our clients face, including challenges such as getting income from your portfolio, managing cash flows from different sources, and ultimately minimizing tax liabilities. In this video, we're going to shift to the value of financial advice. We're really lucky to be joined today by Preet Banerjee, a renowned expert in personal finance and behavioral finance, and the author of the popular book, Stop Overthinking Your Money. Now, Preet has spent the last several years working on groundbreaking research, and he just last year received his doctorate in business administration from the Henley University in the UK. His thesis was on the value of financial advice. And so today, Preet is going to walk through several questions that I have about the value of financial advice. Preet, welcome to the Steadyhand Coffee Break.
Thanks so much for having me, David.
How do you think about the challenges of actually delivering good quality financial advice to Canadians?
I think one of the biggest problems are the structural conflicts of interest that exist within the industry. And when I say structural conflicts of interest, there is a perception that the consumer has that when you talk to a financial advisor, that they are obligated to act in your best interests. And as you and I know, that is not always the case. And in fact, until you have some degree of wealth already built up, the chances of you meeting someone with a fiduciary duty who does have an obligation to put your interests ahead of their own, it's pretty rare. You're mostly dealing with salespeople because of the structure of the industry. Now, that is not to say that every person who works in a commission-based environment is going to be bad. But it is a structural conflict of interest that they have to navigate, whether that's through enhanced disclosure, you maybe having a high level of financial literacy so you can understand these conflicts and how to navigate them. What it generally means, and where this is where kind of my research comes in, is that when you have a lot of money, you have a lot more options in terms of the types of advisors you have access to. And when you have a lot of money, the likelihood of getting someone who is more likely to act in your best interest is way higher. And the value you get from those relationships is markedly higher than the value that you get from a more transactional product-based relationship that exists for the mass market. So there are definitely some areas for massive improvement when it comes to the Canadian financial services landscape.
What would you say are the qualifications or qualities of a financial advisor that Canadians should be looking for and thinking about?
Yeah, qualifications alone are tough. If I were to pick one, I honestly think being a member of FPAC, the Financial Planning Association of Canada, is a good start. This is an organization that was founded by people in the industry who wanted a better sort of landscape for advice for people. And the members there, when they join, they agree to act in a certain way, conduct themselves in a certain way. It's a group of like-minded individuals. I think that group is going to grow. Aside from that, there are a lot of people who have designations, but designations alone, I could give you a checklist of things and to tick off, and I don't know if that's ever going to be sufficient enough. And one of the challenges is when you go to someone looking for advice, it kind of is based on this idea that you don't know what you're doing and you don't have the skills to understand necessarily what they're doing. So your ability to judge whether or not that advisor or servicing professional is doing what's best for you is compromised, right? That's part of the problem as to why it's so hard. And we hear a lot of, horror stories of people who feel that they've been taken advantage of, they received bad advice and what have you. And it's because this playing field is kind of uneven. And that's why I think it's very important to try and figure out this question is, how do we actually raise the minimum standards? How do we actually make sure that people who have traditionally been shut out of good financial advice, so the mass market, it's kind of a blanket statement, but I'd say it's generally true. They really haven't had great access to great advice as much as people who already have money. And I think that's kind of a weird problem to have.
So I've hired an advisor. I'm convinced that they're going to help me. What are the top one or two or three things that I should expect to get from that advisor?
Yeah, I think candor is going to be high on that list. And that covers a couple of things. So they should be disclosing things to you. They should, and you should acknowledge that sometimes they don't know the answer to everything, but that they're working in your best interests. So I think sometimes, the sales hat comes on and someone who's got an answer for everything all the time and doesn't need to look up anything or back up anything, that's kind of a red flag, because there's so much to know about managing money and investments and taxes and estate planning and all this stuff, that you want someone who's going to be working in your interest and will get the answers to questions that they don't know. I wouldn't expect anyone. I mean, I deal with accounts all the time. I have a high degree of financial literacy. I have some cross-border considerations that are somewhat complex. And we sit down, we say, here are the issues that we have. And it's rare that they have an answer on the spot. I used to work with accountants who thought they had the answers on the spot, and I later found out that those answers were wrong. And now I really appreciate when someone says, I don't know the answer to that, I'm going to find out. And then they back it up. They've got the evidence to support, the answers that they're giving you. So if you can tease apart the song and dance of sales versus what a true professional does, which is provide evidence-backed support for the answers and strategies that they're giving you, that's a great sign.
So just switching gears for a moment, what advice do you have for Canadians to be good clients of advisors? What makes for a good client?
One aspect, and this isn't the only aspect, one aspect that I found was that people who had a higher level of financial literacy get more out of their relationships with financial professionals in the first place. And it's twofold. One, you are a bit more discerning about advice. And two, the advisor, the professional on the other side of the table, has to raise their game because they know that you are possibly going to question or challenge them. It actually ends up being a more productive relationship. So that doesn't mean you need to know everything, but it does mean that I think most people, even if they are wanting to delegate 100%, they should spend some time to learn the basics, learn a bit of the lingo, learn a little bit about the nature of financial advice in Canada and how it's provided if they're going to get the best out of that relationship. So financial literacy is key. You don't have to know everything, but you should know some of these basics of not only investing in personal finance, but also advice literacy, I would call it.
Well, Preet, thank you very much for taking us through the transition of financial advice in Canada. And just giving us your perspectives on how to be a good investor, a good client of financial advisors. We have also recorded a complimentary video focusing on the top rules of becoming a successful accumulator, building your wealth. And so I encourage you to take a look at that video. And Preet, if people want to get in touch with you, or perhaps even get access to the doctorate work that you did, how do they do that?
Yeah, so there's a copy of the thesis on my website, just preetbanerjee.com. And if you want to go to my YouTube channel to find some videos that I've published that talks about some of this stuff and some other topics related to money, just go on YouTube and search for my name, Preet Banerjee. You should find it.
Well, we'll also include a link to your YouTube channel and possibly also to your doctorate work as well. So thank you all for watching. Preet, thank you again for your insights. Be sure to leave any comments or questions that you might have on today's coffee break. We'd love to hear any thoughts that you have about relationships with your financial advisor. And again, if you're not a subscriber to the Steadyhand YouTube channel, I encourage you to do that and also ask to be notified when we load up any new content. Again, thank you for watching, and bye for now.